With that down, let's get on to main topic number 1. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Sam Skywalker, who writes, "Hey, John, I think amid the coronavirus hysterics, everybody has forgotten about Onward. It bombed. Yes, it has earned just $102 million globally after 10 days, and Forbes predicts that the final to stand at around $140 million on a near $200 million budget. What do you think about this situation, and how do you think it will affect Disney and Pixar?" All right, thanks a lot for sending in the question, man. And in the midst of all these high-profile projects being pushed back and pushed off their release dates, and theaters closing, we'll talk about that a little bit more a little bit later. One of the high-profile films that got into theaters before everything started going crazy was, of course, the Pixar film Onward. It just had its second weekend. It did. I mean, for most films, it did okay in its first weekend, made over $40 million on its first weekend, which is fine for most pictures, but it was the third lowest opening ever for a Pixar film. And now it's had its second weekend. And Rob, not only was its second weekend a 72% drop at the box office overall had the lowest box office weekend in over 20 years. Let's take a look at the top 5 of the box office. Onward came in at number 1, making $10.5 million at the box office. And Rob, what did I tell you? What did I tell you about the Bloodshot, The Hunt coming out? And I said, you know what? I think if I Still Believe can make around $10 million, I think it might beat those other two films.
You said that.
And sure enough, it did. I Still Believe, the faith-based film, made $9.5 million at the box office. Bloodshot came in at $9.3 on its opening weekend. The Invisible Man made another $6 million. That movie just made money hand over fist. And then, of course, The Hunt came in at $5.3 million. Now, obviously, when we're talking about Onward, I should say, when we're talking about Onward and its total collapse at the box office in its second weekend, you have to put a giant asterisk beside that, obviously. This is also a big, this has a lot more to do with the coronavirus than anything else, because people liked Onward. Onward's a good movie. Onward's a very enjoyable movie. I don't believe Onward is a top tier Pixar film, but a very, very good Pixar film nonetheless. It took a 72% drop. That is just disastrous by any stretch of the imagination. But again, obviously, the situation going on with the coronavirus obviously had a lot to do with that. Obviously, also had a lot to do with Bloodshot's results, had a lot to do with The Hunt's results. Not that I was thinking Bloodshot or The Hunt was going to make much more than they did anyway. The Hunt isn't all that good, to be honest with you. So, but still, overall, clearly it had a massive impact. When it comes to the question, though, Rob, about how will this affect Disney and Pixar, they're going to take a big loss on this. And that's not something Disney or their subdivision Pixar is accustomed to taking, big losses, but they're going to take a big loss on this. We'll talk about what maybe they can do with Onward moving forward a little bit later in the show. But Rob, for now, you see these numbers. What's your response to them? And what effect, if any, do you think this is going to have on Disney and or Pixar?
Well, obviously, John, as you pointed out, this is a very different experience than anybody's ever had before. This is not an indication of the film. It's not an indication of the movie-going audience. I mean, the world is being systematically shut down as far as entertainment is concerned. And I don't think anybody, while this is an unprecedented situation, like you said, this is always going to have an asterisk next to it. You can't judge this by any normal standard. You just can't, because we're in a situation that is unprecedented. No one's ever seen it before. But what it is, it's a microcosm or a macrocosm as far as Disney is concerned as to where Hollywood is at right now. And I don't know what can be done. I mean, Disney has obviously Disney streaming. Maybe the fact that Onward, they dropped Frozen 2, they dropped Rise of Skywalker on video, both of those movies early. And I think that the world is just going to come to grips. This is just another example of how this entire planet is now being tested and has to figure out how they're going to move forward with business as usual. This could be, we might lose our summer movie season entirely, depending on how this thing shakes out. And it's unprecedented, But as Anti-Entity said in Beyond Thunderdome, we will rebuild.
One of the things that I actually found kind of stunning, to be honest with you, is that the box office still made $55 million this week.
Dude, I know, right?
I honestly thought it would be a lot less than that. Because you're right. You're absolutely right. It is staggering to see an Onward with a 72% drop and none of the other movies even making $10 million. Absolutely, that is shocking. But honestly, given the current situation, when I saw that it still overall made over $55 million, like the box office itself made over $55 million, I was quite surprised. I thought that was a high number.
I thought it was a high number too, but to be fair, the way the movie theaters took really interesting precautions. Like they were cutting their attendance in various auditoriums by half so people could have enough distance between them, recommended distance that doctors and the CDC has recommended to keep people away from you. I thought that was a really unique solution. And they're trying to stay in business. It's not just, and good for them because of all their employees. People that live paycheck to paycheck. Like you pointed out astutely last week on the show, movie theaters don't have a huge margin of profit. They're not operating at a huge margin of profit. So they tried, man. They tried, and people didn't want to. You want to come out and not listen to this stuff anymore. You want to put some joy in your head. Go see Onward. Pixar is always going to put a smile on your face. I think people did as much as they could. The theaters did as much as they could, but not anymore, at least certainly not in New York and LA.
Well, we'll talk about that in just a second. So the question here is, guys, what do you think about this drop? Obviously, a massive part of this has to do with the global situation with the virus and all that kind of stuff. Or maybe you thought, you know what? I didn't think Onward was that good. I thought it would take a bunch of a drop anyway. I don't know. How are you feeling about it? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.